today have 700,000 students, and we don't have a skills gap that existed before. Again, it took a lot of courage. This too is one such challenge. I'm asking you guys, let us solve it together, the way Junior here said. And we can do it together. We can do it. So, let me combine what, before I come to melody on lead disbursement, let me go with what Kisero Jr. Otieno said. He said, what was wrong with the old model? Yeah? Number one. Number two, why don't we amend the old model? Yeah? And number three, why don't we do it together? Junior, let me call you that. You're so right. I will tell you what was wrong with the old model. And then I will tell you what we are doing with the new model and how we can do it together. I don't know even whether it is me to say what was wrong with the old model. The old model was almost destroying our education. Because, number one, it assumed that all the courses were the same. Number one. It also assumed that government had the money to pay 80% for everybody, when it did not. And the results were disastrous. Scott Theological College, a university, closed down because of the old model. Many universities here, when I came into office, because of the old model, 23 out of 40 public universities were bankrupt. And if you are going to a university that is bankrupt, explain to me what kind of education you are going to get from a university that is bankrupt. Friends. And are there university chancellors here, vice chancellors here who know how serious that is? What was the situation? Yeah? Are they here? Vice chancellors, say many. You know, if the old model was working, tell these students the old model was good, and you know, let's go back to the old model. Yeah. So the vice chancellors are here. Any vice chancellor want to tell us? Yes. Who this lady here, or oh yeah, here from Embu University.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I want to say that, indeed, as you've seen, the old model was killing our universities. And I stand here on behalf of all the universities because I'm the chairman of the Vice Chancellor's Forum. And therefore, I can talk on that mandate. And I would want to say, as of June 2023, 23 out of the 40 universities were technically insolvent. And the round one of this model, which we just started last year, has been able to get many of those universities out of that pit. And we have done simulations, and we have seen in 3 years' time, in 3 to 4 years' time, all the universities will have a turnaround, and we all stop being insolvent. And therefore, I would want to say, as Vice Chancellors, Your Excellency, we support this model because it's a model that we see is going to turn us around. For example, I would want to say University of MB is one of those that would have been otherwise technically insolvent. In fact, in that list, I'm number 17. But I can say, as of now, we are in the positive. And it's only one round. We owned our lecturers. Because of the old model, when we raised the CMBAs, we could not be able to pay the new salaries. And we owned our lecturers and our staff members arrears for 2 years. And because of this new model, last June, May and June, we were able to pay those arrears for 2 years. So right now, University of Embu is clean. We owe nobody nothing. So it's a model, Your Excellency, we want to support, because you could draw a line, and we would have told you when all the universities will be technically insolvent in this country. But we know now that there's a turnaround, and we are going to get out of there. Thank you, Your Excellency.
Let me say this, my friend Junior. The model, the student-centered model, is actually an improvement. In your own words, you said, why don't we improve? Why don't we take the old model and make it better? This is exactly what we are doing. The household contribution was there. It is there in this model. The scholarship was there. It is there in this model. The loan was there. It is there in this model. The only difference we are making is that we are looking at how do we make children from vulnerable families, how do we assist them? How do we make sure that when we send students to a university, we also give the university resources to make sure they teach the course for which they have admitted the student? It is true. I mean, it is a fact that it doesn't cost the same to teach one course as against the other. And this funding model is sensitive to that. It is also sensitive to students who come from vulnerable families. I know I have been accused, correctly, that I sometimes think too much about poor people, and I push, the rich people to do things for the poor ones. But I mean, that is society. You I don't know how to put it. But anyway, that's that. So, you have just told me, Junior, that among the universities that we owe a lot of money is KEMU, your university, right? Do you know why we owe KEMU a lot of money? It's because of the old model, which you are telling me, let us go back to the old model. How will KEMU get out of the hole? If we continue with the old model, it means KEMU continues to accumulate debt. Friend, let us deal with this as openly, as transparently as possible. The vice chancellors who are sitting here are not madmen and women. For them to agree for us to work with this model. They've seen what happens with the old model. They participated. We worked with them. We worked on simulations. We brought in experts to look at, because the one thing we cannot do is to compromise on the quality of our education. The old model is compromising on the quality of our education, because if lecturers are not paid, if material is not available to train our doctors, if workshops are not working to train our engineers, we will end up with the wrong engineers, we will end up with the wrong doctors, we will end up with the wrong teachers, and we will destroy our country. It will be very reckless of us it will be very irresponsible of us, me as president, these vice chancellors as managers of our universities, you as students, for us to accept, to walk a path that leads to the destruction of our country and our education for that matter. Melody has said, Njeri has said, late disbursement. I agree with you. That is part of what brought us to this very unfortunate situation. The reason why we put together this new funding model is so that we are clear on what our requirements are. And I have made a deliberate decision that I'm going to invest more money in education. Because if we don't get education right, we will get nothing right. Because everything will go wrong. And I don't want to throw money at a problem. I want us to invest money in a plan that is well thought out, because I would have just decided to put money. But you put money in a model that's not working, you don't solve nothing. It is the reason why I invested a lot of time, I brought in a lot of professionals, and I'm willing, just the same way, Junior, you said, bring forward ideas. Let us look at this model again. If there is any improvements we can make, if the student body can come up with improvements, let us subject it to scientific evidence, and let us see how we can improve it. The improvement is what we are doing. We are improving on the model that was to make it better. Njeri, we have taken time this time round to make sure that as we implement this model, it is tied to our financial resources. We have clearly identified how much money we need. You know, we based the old model on assumptions, which assumptions were wrong and almost collapsed our education system. This time round, we are using empirical figures. That's why we are feeding them into our budget, so that we give the universities the money that is enough to teach every student for the course that they have been admitted. It is not necessary for us to tell a university, teach for us this doctor, and we have given them money enough to teach a teacher. It is not right, because they will not do it. And if they do it, we will end up with a half-baked graduate. Brian Waka, usalama. Umesema ya kwamba pale university mnataka usalama. Na nakubaliana na wewe 100%. Sasa sijui makarao nikituma hawa pale, si mtawashughulikia kweli? I agree with you that sometimes the security situation in some of our universities is wanting, and it is a conversation I can have with the vice chancellors. If the vice chancellors can give us details of where they need support to make sure that our universities are safe, we are prepared to have that conversation. And if the student body can work with the vice chancellors and work with us so that we can identify areas that we can improve security in our colleges, that would be a good thing. I agree with you that an active student body that is representative of the student views and interest is necessary and is important. And I support the democratization of university leadership so that they can better represent the student body. You have also asked me whether I can establish a mechanism where I can directly listen to some of your views. I am happy to do that. If you can tell me what mechanism you want to use to engage with me. I think I have tried to engage with some of the university student leadership. Just make sure that when you come with that leadership that will engage with me, wasiende kusalimiwa kwa sababu sasa wanaenda kuteswa, so we can have that conversation. I think those are the issues so far. I can take another round of I think the lady here is, or there is a gentleman there, maybe, or the lady. Okay, the lady here.
Thank you, His Excellency. My name is Marceline Mugesi from Muranga University. And mine is a suggestion and not a question. We have funds allocated to the constituencies to provide bursaries in the constituency level. Why can't these funds be given to help to increase the scholarship part and reduce the loans given to the students? Thank you.
Thank you very much. There is a gentleman there.
Sir.
Maybe we can.
A minute.
Okay.
Viva comrades,
Yes.
viva. Viva comrades, viva. I am Gishangi Gitonga, the Jkuat Secretary General. And Mr. President, for the entire time I was sitting on this seat, it was becoming hotter and hotter for the simple reason that by every minute I'm receiving phone calls, because before I came here, I engaged my people from Jkuat and they told me if I did not tell you the truth, they would impeach me. So allow me to be as candid with you as possible. Mr. President, my first question, and one of the biggest questions my people have been asking me, is why the rush? Why the rush in implementing a model that has a lot of technicalities? Why the rush? Because I am a financial engineer, and as you have said, the issue of the interest rates is determined by actuarial scientists. But the model in itself has a lot of issues up to this moment. So even if we had all these issues coupled together, you've given a lot of sad stories of people not making it to campus, of campuses such as the Scott Bible Institute being closed. But Mr. President, we have a lot of people being affected right now. While we were at Naivasha, Mr. President, once we left, we felt like rubber stamps. Naongea ukweli, comrades. For the simple reason that after that, a report was given in Naivasha. We had a summit in Naivasha around June. And the report that came out is that we had agreed to the model. And our comrades were really angry with us, Mr. President. So we felt at that point like we were being set up. Like what we are telling the people is just for formalities. And we have spoken in a lot of forums, Mr. President, but I believe you have already noticed that people are not clapping much to even the best of points, because there's a general there's a general exhaustion among the people, because we are usually given a lot of promises. We will come to forums such as this, but we know that very little of it will be implemented. And Mr. President, we also know that corruption is the biggest public expenditure. And before exposes by the 1.3 million, Mr. President, I will not rush to criticize anything of the sort, but you know that corruption is a big expenditure in this country. What is your administration doing to ensure that corruption ends in public institutions? Mr. President, you are using 9 beaters to classify people. Once again, I'm a financial engineer, and I take keen interest in numbers. You use 9 factors to classify people. Now, explain this to me. We have a parent earning 25,000 shillings, and the firstborn has made it to Jkuat to do financial engineering. But this family has 7 people. It has 6 siblings under the person who has made it to financial engineering. So, under what category does this person fall? Let's even say it's 50,000. This person lives in the CBD at a place where the life is very expensive. So, under what category does this person follow? Or will we have the same thing repeating itself of that girl who was looking at the people with graduation gowns? Because the firstborn, yes, made it to campus, and they found the new funding model, and they appealed because they were placed in band 5. But unfortunately, as you've heard, we have, let me confirm the numbers, we have 26,000 appeals. And also as a financial engineer, I know that not all appeals usually go through as they ought to because of the system glitches. Mr. President, kindly explain to me where this person should land, because among the 9 beaters, the issue of the siblings and probably the dependents around that family, because some of these families adopt people not because they have too much, but because they have compassion on the people in the society who the government is unable or unwilling to help. Mr. President, we also have the issue of a defunct Kuso. And Mr. President, I love what the gentleman who has spoken in Swahili. I must first commend him because of the perfect grammar. Of the issue of, I do not know if you know anyone who represents other campus students. Because, comrades, do you know anyone who represents you? Do you have anyone? So, Mr. President, I would like to urge you to probably constitute something that will even be recognized by the government, because as students we have been crying, as student leaders we have been crying for a very long time of people who are there to just by themselves curse, Mr. President, people who are there not to represent our will. Who are there not to represent our will, but their own. People who are there for their own stomachs. And these are the people who you are striking against. Mr. President, people in this room are angry because of 2 people. One, it is you. I've told you I'll be impeached if I do not tell you the truth. My constituents told me that they feel, and I will put this as respectfully as possible, that you advise your advisors. Because of the issues, for example, let's say the issue of the new funding model. Mr. President, the only person who has explained the new funding model in the best way is you. So my constituents were asking me, as in, shouldn't the people in charge of that ministry be able to put it better than the president himself? The other person that the comrades are very angry with is in this room, seated somewhere in front, Mr. President, somebody who has been claiming to represent our interests. But, comrades, does that person represent your interests? Does that person represent your interests? So, Mr. President, if anyone comes to you claiming, Mr. President, the comrades are telling me to tell him to walk out, but we are here for peace, Mr. President. So I would want to put it as straight as possible and to be as brief as a cock on a hen. Mr. President, as things stand, we do not have a representative. Ukweli ama uongo? We do not have a representative unless you enable us have some permanent office to ensure that student leaders are represented, and you ensure that, unlike the many government offices we have today, the government will not interfere with the affairs of the students. Mr. President, the lady there has raised an important issue. First, the questions that are here, most of them have been raised by the people around me because they've realized that you might not have a lot of time to speak. Somebody named Karongo Adangwa, the Senator of Kiambu County, and by the way, God willing, I will replace him, raised the point of all these monies being brought to one pool. The MC has a bursary, the woman rep has a bursary. Probably if it was not for a very little chance, the chief might be having a bursary. Mr. President, the entire structure that represents us, and by the way, we also feel overrepresented as Kenyans, and that is one of the reasons we are demonstrating, Mr. President. We have 22 CSS, we have CASs, we have permanent secretaries, and all these people have budgets and they have salaries, but I'll put that aside, Mr. President. So these people have bursaries. And then to get a bursary, you must know somebody in the country that we live in. You've said that you feel for the poor. You've said that you are blamed for feeling for the poor, and somebody opined that we are all politicians and we all got elected through public relations. So, Mr. President, if you really feel for the poor, kindly address that issue. We have been with you in several forums, and you've said that you are not afraid to bite the bullet, to take the bull by its horns. Mr. President, the MPs will disturb you. Just a minute. I've been sent by a lot of people. You have cut my time a lot of time. So, Mr. President, these MPs will bring a lot of issues. Somebody said that once you remove the CDF, people will not be vying for these positions because they go there for their stomachs. Ukweli ama uongo? Mr. President, kindly consider that, because that will be a legacy. And actually, if you are able to do that, Mr. President, in 2027, I will personally have no issue electing you. So, Mr. President, address that issue. And finally, Mr. President, I feel like there are a lot of discrepancies in what in the numbers that you are being given. For example, you've said that the professor from Alupe, who proposed the new funding model, has spoken about the person doing teaching, the other one doing law, the other one doing medicine, paying the same fee. But we are student leaders here and we are students. Is that the truth? No. Under the differentiated unit costing, does a teacher pay the same amount as a doctor? So, Mr. President, we kindly ask that such small things be reconciled, because these are the things that make people strike. Probably in Naivasha, the HELB did a lot of good work, but as I said in the newspaper yesterday, the Daily Nation, you could go through it. I said that you might be doing a lot of good work, but your communication team is very bad. So, Mr. President, for the little good work that you do, ensure that you know. And last but not least, there are students who defer, and also help me on this issue. We have students who deferred in 2022, but they have come back right now. I feel that it will be very unfair for these students to be classified under the new funding model, Mr. President. And they are a lot. And they have sent me with their cries, Mr. President. So I stand here as a representative of my people. Kindly address those concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. We have taken already two from this side. Let's take, I think the final two from there, and then from here.
My name is Mwangale Agneta Nafuna, Director of Social Affairs and Special Needs, Moi University. Allow me to recognize the presence of my Vice Chancellor, Professor Sanga Koske. One major issue that is really, really disturbing me while sitting on that seat is that we all know that in this country, we have a bigger number of people who are poor. All of us knows that, right? I am very much devastated to hear that only 12% of the whole population of the students in this country are placed in Band 1. If we really, Your Excellency, can do something about this, we can appreciate, because there is no point of giving 12% of the whole population to Band 1 and expect that the other people will just have to appeal. Why would I say this? It's because when giving 12%, you knew very well, or the team knew very well, that you have a lot of poor people in this country. So at least they will have at least given a bigger percentage to these people, and at least consider also those people who are earning maybe middle or who have bigger salaries. I believe that in this meeting where we are seated, we have to be having at least 50% of the whole population placed in either band 1 or 2. Then the little number of people in this country who at least can acquire what they need in life to be placed in those other bands. At least 50%, so that it can strike a balance. Number 2, Your Excellency, as Mwangale, I believe that you really wish well for our university. And I know very well that you have the interest of those people who are needy in this society of Kenya at heart. And I would ask this for elaboration kindly. The other day, the directive was given that students will just go join to university, then like without even paying anything. Like, let's reason out, how will it be when students are in university? Yes, they have not paid the money, they need services. We have workers, we have lecturers, and all other stakeholders that really need to be paid. Of course, there are basic services that you really need in our university. So, how are the university going to manage this? If I said I only need a clarification. Then, Mr. President, I will also need maybe some explanation on this, the placement. Of course, everybody is saying the funding model is the brilliant thing that has ever happened in this country. But now the problem is its implementation. In a case where, of course, we have parameters to place these students in band 1 to either band 5. But now how is a kid, maybe whose parents have separated informally? Of course, lately we are having a lot of broken marriages and everything. Of course, you can find sometimes even children end up remaining on their own, or maybe staying with their grandparents. As a student, or as this kid, how are they going to present themselves? How are they going to defend themselves when it comes to their placement? Because they don't have anything to show.
Thank you, Magineta. You have asked 3 questions. I think it's only fair that we stop there. Thank you very much. Maybe we can give one more person up mbele, or yeah, maybe this guy at in front here. Yep.
To His Excellency, Mr. President, all protocols observed. I am Nick Okoth from the Aviation College of Mombasa. My concern towards the new funding model is drawn to the situation whereby you have got twins. They are joining the campus at the same time. But then during the placement, you realize one is placed on band 1, and the other finds herself in band 5. How do we handle such kind of a situation?
Thank you very much. Can I have, maybe we can take 2 from this side, and then we can take 2 from that side. A lady and a gentleman. We have a gentleman right behind there.
Yeah, thank you, Your Excellency, for creating this opportunity. I'm Faustin Wandera from African Nazarene University, and by God's grace, I'm serving as chairperson of the Student Council. Your Excellency, African Nazarene University is a